Yep, thank you for that introduction, Subi. Am I audible, guys? Okay, yeah, so as Subi said, if you guys have doubts, you can unmute and talk. That'll be the fastest way because I can't, keep checking Discord. If you have problems with your microphone, you can use the text channel. But mention me, okay? Just do at Daniel Mark, and just mention my name. So then I would know you've mentioned me, and I can check the chat. But talk to me. That's like the fastest way, okay? I want this to be interactive, and I'm gonna ask questions. I'm gonna keep it as lively and as interactive as possible. So I want you guys to also, talk back to me because I don't know on what level you guys are and how much you would understand. If some of you have been in my previous workshop, so you might know basic JavaScript, right? And even otherwise, most of you know basic JavaScript. So even if you don't, it's fine. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to be as slow as possible. And even if you're like in high school, or let's say you've just graduated high school, or you're in a freshman year, I'm still going to go very slowly, and I'm going to teach you from the basics. So I think we'll get started, right? If you haven't joined my stream, please join the stream. Watch the stream on Discord because I'll be using the presentation and showing you stuff. Okay. And if you have questions, please stop me. If I make mistakes, please stop me and make me clarify. Okay. So let's start. Right. So we should probably start with what is React. Does anybody know what React is? I want you guys to like unmute yourself and talk to me. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to. There's no point in doing this whole session unless you guys talk back. So yeah. Okay, he got the word perfectly right. I mean, it's literally there on the presentation. I don't think you guys can see my presentation, can you? Okay, just give me 1 second. Capture. Yep. Perfect. All right. So yeah, what is React? React. This is the definition from the official website. Okay. So React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that most people who are new to React make is that they think React is a framework. React is not a framework. React is a library. Some people might be questioning why React. What is so great about React? Why can't I just use regular, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and build a website? Most of you might have that question. So does anybody know why we use React? Why not just use vanilla JavaScript and build a web page like we normally do? Why use React? Why use a framework or a library in the first place? Can anybody explain? You don't have to be right. Just I want to know what your opinions are, what you think about it, and we'll talk about it in detail. So anyone wanna try? The current trend. Okay, yeah, but then again, that's like a recursive question. Why is React the current trend in front-end development, front-end web development? Why is React so famous? Why do people switch to React from older technologies like rendering technologies like PHP or XHP or whatever? Why React and why now? That is also okay. The other one that is also true. Okay, we'll get into that as we get into React. That's a little. You need a little explanation for that. Okay, but I'll just give you a history of React. So basically, what used to happen is back in the day, we used to build pages with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? I'm probably going to just draw this down for you guys, so then it would make more sense. You can all see the board, right? Is the board visible, guys? Okay, cool. So back in the day, say early 2000s or like late 1990s, what did we have? Let's just go with 1990s or like early 2000s. What technologies did we use to build web pages? Really quick, this is high school stuff. You should know it. What did we use to build web pages back then? Guys, I'm talking to all of you. Unless all of you talk, I can't proceed. Because I have no idea if you guys are listening or you can understand. I'm going to start calling out names if you don't volunteer. Especially first years. This is like very basic questions I'm asking. Aaron, the first guy on the list. I'll go in alphabetical order. Yeah, you're audible. Okay. HTML, JavaScript. What else? CSS, perfect. What other languages, technologies do you know? Okay, wait, you stop. Let's go to the next person. Abhishek. Abhishek, are you here? Yeah. What other technologies do you know? You know that people used to use back then? AngularJS wasn't in the early 90s or 2000s. I'm talking about the old stuff that we used to use previously. Alright. Okay, no. Yeah, no problem. Who else? Let's see. Anand. Anand, are you here? Nope. Okay, Anton Jude Raj. Anton Jude. Yeah, you're audible. Come on, really quick, guys. This is easy stuff. Okay, PHP, perfect. What else? Okay, yeah, we'll skip you. PHP is a big one. Anthony Berlin. These four. Okay. Crispin. What? You don't remember the others? Okay. Dinesh Raj. Sorry, Crystal Darling. I missed a name in between. Are you here? Alright, I'll skip. Dinesh Raj? Yeah, sure. Netscape is a browser. I'm talking about technology that you use to program web pages. Guys, the plan is to finish by 7. If you guys don't answer really quick and try to, move on, we'd be stuck with this. You know how it happened last time. So, volunteer. You guys volunteer. I'm not going to call out names. Volunteer really quick. Name at least 7 technologies. 4 are on the board already. I need 3 more. Come on. XML is not exactly a technology, but I'll list it anyway. Flash is a technology, but I'm talking about programming languages. Like, very specifically used to build web pages. What? No, not WordPress. WordPress is a more like a PaaS platform. You drag and drop. You do minimal coding. Java, good. What else? .NET, okay, perfect. Alright, I'm gonna stop with this because you've spent too much time on this. Okay, so that's the early 1990s, 2000s, okay? All these technologies together we used to build, the early internet. But the problem is, all of these technologies, if you realize, except HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and XML. Yeah, so except these 4, the other technologies, PHP, Java, .NET, let's say you use Ruby, or let's say you used Perl, or let's say you also used Python. All of these different technologies, the problem with all these technologies is that they ran on what's known as a web server, right? And all of you know what a web server is, right? It's basically a computer program running on top of a computer, and it serves web pages. That's all a web server does, okay? So all of these technologies, PHP, Java, Python, Perl, Ruby, .NET, all of these technologies ran on what's known as a web server. And let's say you open your browser, say Google Chrome or Edge or whatever, and you go to a website, say example.com. When you go to the website, what happens is you're sending out a request across the internet to a particular web server. That web server, what it does is it takes your request and it generates a page. It uses one of these languages, PHP, XML, Java, Python, Perl, Ruby, or .NET, one of these languages, and it'll generate a web page, and it'll also embed HTML, CSS, and JavaScript inside it. And then what it does is it takes these high-level programming languages that I just mentioned, and it compiles them. It either compiles them or it interprets them, and then it converts them into actual code that can be read by a browser. So it basically generates HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? And once you have that, that will get compiled into what's known as a HTML file, a CSS file, and a JS file, right? These three files would then be bundled, and then they would be sent back to your browser, because your browser can understand only these three languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Does it make sense? Okay, what about the others? Are you guys following? Have you guys been following along? I want all of you to answer. Like, this is what I used to do last time, I'm gonna do it this time. I don't, that might be too many of you here, but I want all of you to answer. Okay. 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 With the others, are you guys following along? I just talked about how web pages are generated and viewed on the browser. Have all of you been following along? This is basic stuff, guys. Clarify it now. If this doesn't make sense to you, then React is not gonna make sense to you. So get it clarified now. All of you understood how the process happens, right? You generate a web page on a server, and then HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is generated, and then it is sent to a browser. And your browser can then parse this and build the actual web page. I hope that makes sense to all of you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to why React was invented. The problem was, let's take the language PHP. I'm going to just clear this screen for now. Let's pick PHP, for example. PHP is one of the most famous languages even now. And the problem with PHP is that you need a PHP that is running some sort of PHP server inside it. This PHP server then interpret all the PHP code that you write, and it would convert that into the same thing: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Somebody has a doubt, probably. Okay. Alright. Yeah, so that's basically what PHP gets converted into and sent to the browser, right? But there's a problem. Let's say you're running a web server that has very low specifications. So let's say this server has probably 8 gigabytes of RAM, 4 CPUs, or 4 central processing units inside, I don't know, you guys call the box a CPU, right? That's not a CPU. The little chip inside it, the i5, i3, i9, that stuff is what's known as a CPU. Again, beginner stuff. You should have researched about this. So let's say we have a server with really little specs. Now what we do is, let's say we have 500 million people trying to connect to that one server to view a web page that is running PHP, okay? Now what happens is, this server, with this limited amount of resources, has to generate 500 million pages and send it back to 500 million people at the same time. It can't do that, right? It's really hard. It's gonna bottleneck, it's gonna crash, it's gonna, packets are gonna be lost. Not all 500 million people are gonna be able to connect, because you need a huge server to handle these many number of requests, right? Does that make sense? It's always the same set of guys unmuting and talking, whom I know personally. I know you guys would get it. I want the freshers mainly to answer the questions, because I don't know if none of the freshers are even talking, so I don't really know if you guys. Okay. What? Can you repeat that, please? I'm not able to get. Yeah, I can hear you, but it's kind of muffled. Okay. Guys, what about the others? Shavin, Sagarika, who's that? RWN, Rafi, Prince, Preeti, Praveen, Pinto, Vishnu Simhar, Lawrence. Are you guys all there? Are you listening? Does it make sense to you, what I'm trying to tell you? I'm trying to explain how one server can't handle 500 million people at the same time. Does that make sense? The concept of scalability? Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's the problem. Now what happens is, let's say instead you're running a framework like React. React runs entirely in JavaScript, right? So now what happens is, you can build an entire application, an entire front-end application, and in React, and you can put the JS files on the server. So now what happens is if 500 million people make a request to this server, it'll still crash, but this model would be more scalable. Why? Because the server doesn't have to compile PHP on the server and send it to people. Instead, it'll simply take these bundles and it'll keep sending it out. It's that simple. React doesn't have to be compiled on the server. It can be compiled in the browser itself. Does that make sense? PHP has to be compiled on the server and the output has to be sent to the browser. Whereas JavaScript can be sent straight to the browser and the browser can compile it. So building apps with React is a lot less costly than building apps with PHP. You can run React applications on very, very small servers and serve huge numbers of people because your server doesn't do a lot of processing. All it does is it serves the code to the people and the people compile it themselves or interpret it themselves. Does that make sense? Yeah, so I basically explained a concept called CSR and SSR, okay? CSR and SSR. What does this stand for? People who already know, don't answer. I know that I explained this to some of you, don't answer. Let's see if the first years can get it. CSR versus SSR. Two very different concepts that basically do the same, give you the same output. What's the difference between the two? I literally explained both concepts. I just need the full form. What's CSR and what's SSR? What was that? Yeah, sure. I don't know who's speaking. Okay. Perfect. That's the right answer, okay? CSR is client-side rendering, SSR is server-side rendering. Now what I want you to do is match the following. Which one is server-side rendered, which one is client-side rendered? PHP or React? I gave you the answer already, you just need to match the following. I'm gonna pick a random person. Who's this? Mohammed Ramiz. Your mic is already unmuted, see? No, wait, Jotsana, wait. Huh? Okay. You're asking if students can join the Discord server. Yeah, ask them to join the Discord server. Just send them an invite link. They should automatically get the role. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to Mohammed Ramiz, right? Why don't you match the following? Tell me which is which. God. Okay, next on the list, Michelle. Why are all the first years non-responsive? Are you guys listening? Or have you just muted yourself and walked away? Prince 76. Yeah, I can hear you. Which one? Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's right. So React.js would be client-side rendered, and PHP would be server-side rendered. Okay, it's that simple. That's all I wanted to explain about React. Okay. Yeah. So now you know where React runs. React runs on the browser. It is passed in the browser, and the whole thing takes place. The whole life cycle of React takes place in the browser, not on the server. Okay. The server would just give you the bundle, the JS bundle alone, right? So now you know what React basically is. It's a library and it's a bundle of JavaScript code. So that'll be sent to your server and your server will do the rest of the work, rendering and all that. Now what's the difference between normal React and React and normal JS or regular JS, vanilla JS? What's the difference? Does anybody want to go give a try? How exactly is React different from vanilla JS in terms of how the content is displayed on the browser? Does anybody want to try? I can give you a small clue. The clue over here would be MVC. Does anybody want to try? Alright, I'll explain. Have you guys heard of what's known as the DOM? When you studied basic HTML, they should have taught you something called DOM, right? Or Document Object Model. Can anybody explain what DOM is? Yeah, exactly. The entire HTML web page, right? Take any web page for that instance. You take the entire web page. I'll show you a real-time example probably. Let's go to the browser, and yeah. The maximum number of what? I'm not following. What exactly is the problem with the stream? Subiksha, can you check? Give me a second, guys. Alright, I guess we'll just continue then. Okay, I told you what that is. Now let's look at how React works in the browser itself. Okay. So I was explaining the whole concept of a DOM, right? So basically what happens is an entire web page, say the root element, HTML element, sorry, /HTML, and everything in between, say the head and /head, and then you have the body inside it, blah blah blah. You get the idea, right? A whole HTML document. This entire document is represented as an object, okay? That's basically what the DOM is, document object model. The entire structure of HTML is represented as one single object, okay? So that's basically what the DOM is. Now regular JavaScript, what you do is, let's say you have a component. For example, let's take a nav bar. Let's say you have a normal regular web page, and you have a nav bar on top. This nav bar would be referred to as a single component, right? And let's say this is a chat application. You have a list of people who you're chatting with on the left side, and this would be a list component, right? So this can be another component. This can be one component. The navbar can be another component. And based on which person's name you've clicked, you have the entire chat history on the right side, right? So this entire window here, or this entire component here, would be a chat component, right? So you can split an entire web page into multiple components. Now with regular JavaScript, what you would do is, you would manipulate the contents of this web page by directly targeting the component itself. Does that make sense? For example, if you have, say, a yellow color box on your web page, and you wanted to change the color of that box, in order to change the color of that box with regular JavaScript, you would directly access that box from your JavaScript code, and you would say, hey, I don't want this to be yellow color anymore, I want it to be red. And so the color of the box would change to red. That's how you do it with regular JavaScript. You directly manipulate elements that are in the DOM. Does that make sense? Does everybody follow? What about the others? You guys listening? I'm just letting you know. This React is what we will be using for most of our projects from now on. Like React is massive. Like the market is huge. There's no point in me teaching you older stuff like, vanilla JavaScript, Bootstrap, and PHP, because if you go and look for a job in IT, you have to know this. Like there is no escaping it. It's either this or Angular. Angular, the learning curve is very, very steep. You guys are going to get stuck and you're not going to be able to complete it, which is why I'm teaching you React, which is easier. So if you don't learn this now, and if you think 10 days of a course and then a certificate is all you're here for, you're going to get stuck. And I'll tell you why. Towards the end of this course, you guys are going to form little teams of 2 or 3 people each, and you're going to build your own React application. So if you don't end up submitting the final project, we would know that you haven't been listening and you're not attending the classes the way you were supposed to. So you won't graduate this course if you don't meet the complete requirements. So if you're not listening, please start listening and try to put in a little more effort. I'm saying this only if Yeah, there's a message on the React.js workshop channel. In case you can't watch my stream and has reached its limit, Fabian Forno is sharing his screen, so you can watch my stream through his screen. So please join the other stream if you can't watch mine. Okay. Right, so that's basically what the requirements of the course are. You submit a project in order to graduate, otherwise you don't graduate. It's as simple as that. So start listening, start trying to answer questions. I'm going to have to pick out people. If you guys are unresponsive for long periods of time, moderators would have to basically follow up with you, and if you're not listening, we'd basically have to remove you. So that's the way it's going to work for all workshops. That's the way it has been, right? So that's how you basically work with regular JavaScript. Now with React, what we do is we use something called the MVC model. It's not exactly MVC, but we get the whole idea of React comes from the MVC pattern. So what we basically do is MVC is nothing but model view controller. And I'll tell you what this is. In React, what happens is you have the real DOM, or the real DOM in the browser, okay? And let's say the real DOM has a huge, page, and the page is comprised of multiple smaller elements inside it, or multiple smaller components. Now what React basically does is it generates what's known as a virtual DOM, or a virtual web page, which will be stored in the RAM of the computer. Okay, the RAM of the browser, the RAM of the computer that you're on. Okay, it's going to create something called a virtual DOM. Okay, and let's just call this VDOM. And now what React is going to do is it's going to, every time you create a web page or a component, it's going to create a virtual component inside the virtual DOM. Okay. Now after this is created, this is what will be called your model. Okay, so once the model is created, the real DOM will then replicate whatever is in the virtual DOM and generate the actual component on the web page that the user will see. So the user will see only this, only the real DOM. The user does not see the virtual DOM. This is stored virtually in memory. Are you guys following so far? What about the others? Yeah. Alright, so that's basically the difference between virtual DOM and real DOM. Now, this real DOM is what we would call your view. Okay? Model and view. Now what happens is, let's say you want to make some change to the data. Let's say I have two tabs open on my browser. Let's just pick my browser, for example. Let's say I'm on Facebook and I have two tabs open on Facebook. Okay? Tab 1 and tab 2. On my first tab, I open my profile. Okay? So I have a profile picture. On my second tab, I'm editing my profile, okay, in my second tab. So my first tab will have my old profile picture, right? Whereas if I go to my second tab and I change my profile picture, my tab the profile picture gets updated to the new one, right? On the second tab. So when I go back to the first tab, my profile picture should automatically change, right? So I'm just giving an example of an event that takes place in the browser, right? I'm updating my profile picture. That's all the example is. Now what happens is, if in case, let's say this is my profile picture component, okay? This fourth box over here is my profile picture component. When I update this in the virtual DOM, the real DOM will know that the virtual DOM has changed. When the virtual DOM changes, the real DOM will compare what it has in the DOM, in the actual DOM, to what's in the virtual DOM, and it'll see what has changed. The minute it sees that there's a small change, it'll update the real DOM to be in sync with the virtual DOM. Does that make sense? You make changes only to the model. The view will automatically update. React will automatically update the view in the browser. So all you're doing is you're making changes to the model, okay? You're not making changes to the view. You will not touch the real DOM at all, the way you used to do in regular JavaScript. In React, you will make changes to only the virtual DOM. Does that make sense? It's just the same group of people answering again. What about the others? Come on, Crispin, Anthony Berlin, Anton, Juraj, Anand, Jennifer, Leslie, Jessica, Joshiba. Who's this? Levin, Prince, Michelle, Pinto, Preeti, Prince. Are you guys even listening? Don't call me sir, I'm a fourth year student. So yeah, that's basically what the virtual DOM and the actual DOM is, okay? So that's basically how React entirely works. So that's about virtual DOM and real DOM. So now what we'll do is we're going to, let me see. Alright, so now what I want you to do is small activity, okay? Enough of listening. You guys are gonna do actual programming now for a bit. So now what I want you guys to do is open your browser. Really quick, open your browser. And let's see. Right, so we're gonna go into our browser right now, and I want you to go to this website. I'm gonna paste the link in the Discord chat on top. Click on the link and open that website. Okay, it's called codesandbox.io. All if you click on that link, open the web page, post a message on the React.js workshop channel saying you have opened it. If you don't want to talk, it's fine, but at least post a message so I'll know you guys are listening. Open the website really quick. Yeah, those of you who open the website, you should be able to see. You should see this button that says sign in, right? Click on sign in, and one of the requirements was to have a GitHub account, right? So sign in with GitHub, either GitHub or Google, whichever is fine. I said GitHub because we'll be using it later on in the series, but it would be better if you have a GitHub account. Okay, sign in with Google. Just do that for me really quick, and then post a message once you've signed in. You don't have to post a message if you've opened it, but sign in and then post a message, okay? Signed in, okay. Don't do anything. Yeah? Yeah, you're audible. You'll have to, okay, so if you look on the left side of your Discord, you'll see channels, right? And you see this channel that says Workshop Live, the one that you're actually connected to. There should be a channel right above it called React.js Workshop. Yeah. So we'll be saying an emoji back to that if you're following this. Alright guys, if you sign in, just react with the Pattarai emoji. Yeah, on that message. All of you getting it, right? That's really quick. Don't type, please don't type. React to that message really quick. Hereafter what I'll do is I'll just type in the message, and you guys are gonna react to that message if you've completed the task. Sounds better, right? Than actually typing. We'll do that. Okay, 36. Come on, let's go. 37, 38. 41. How many people are there in the attending the session right now? Subiksha? More than 60, okay. Alright, I'll just wait for the rest of you to do it really quick. Please close, if you have multiple tabs open on your browser, please close, because most of you will be on Chrome. Chrome takes a lot of RAM. The whole thing will slow down, so please close all the unnecessary tabs. Just keep only what you need open. Signed in, Jerome. Do you have the role for that? Give me a second. Yeah, she doesn't have a role. Probably give her the role. Okay. How is she not able to view the channel then? Guys, are you following along? 48 people. There's over 60, right? I'm waiting for a couple more. Make it really fast. $49, okay. $50. Also, unlike last time, if you guys have questions after the session, or if you want to talk after the session, please don't use Telegram. Just ping me on Discord instead. You can either do a private message me, or you can use the server itself. But don't use Telegram. That's the only thing. Yeah, reach out to events if you have any technical difficulties. Alright, I don't know if... Okay, alright, let me just continue. I already signed in, so I'm gonna keep it just like that. Now on the center of your screen, do you see this button that says New Sandbox, right? New Sandbox in the center of your screen. Click on that, and you should see a bunch of languages and frameworks. Do you see the pop-up? Click on the center of your screen. Click on New Sandbox, and you'll see a list of frameworks. React to my message, the one that I just posted. If you've clicked on it and you see all the different tech, react to it really quick. Guys, keep up the pace, okay? We have only 1 hour 15 minutes more, and I aim to finish by 7. The faster you guys finish, the faster I'll let you go. There's no rule that I'm gonna. So if you guys finish it quicker and we're able to finish it, you can leave. 40. Okay, come on, quick. Also, events committee, please follow up with how many people are actually following along and doing this stuff. If people are not able to keep up, or if they don't want to, we'll limit the numbers from tomorrow. Alright, I guess most of you must have gotten it. Now, do you see the first option that says React by Code Sandbox? It says React and there's a React logo, right? Very straightforward. Just click on that, okay? Click on the word that says React. Just do that alone for me. Click on React. And react to my message. Okay, all of you should see a screen that looks like this, like the one I'm showing you right now. Do all of you see it? Perfect. 41, okay, 42, 43, 44, 45. Come on, faster guys. Okay, now I'll tell you what you do. On the left side, you see this small directory, right? A small tree of files on the left side. Do you all see that? You all see a list, right? On the left side. We're gonna go through that list very quickly. Less than 2 minutes. I'm gonna explain what this list is and why, what each piece does. All of you ready? Can I continue? Okay. All of you following along, look at the file structure, okay, on the left side. I'm going to explain the file structure. This is basically how I do it. Back then when we used to do it, if you guys are new, back then what we used to do was I used to ask a question and people used to unmute and then really quickly they would say yes, so they would put yes on the chat. So since that's really kind of hard on Discord, react to the message, okay? Only then I'll know you guys are listening. If you need me to slow down, tell me to slow down. I talk really fast most of the time, so. Yeah? Okay. Who is that? Okay. 22. Do all of you see the file structure on the left side? Please react to the message if you have. I've got only 23 reactions. I'll tell you what, React is very simple, okay? It's very simple. JavaScript is very simple for that matter. The problem is you can learn JavaScript in 3 days, but you can continue learning JavaScript for the next 3 years also. That's like the crazy thing about JavaScript, both JavaScript and React. You can learn it in a very minimal amount of time, but you can continue learning it even for like months or years. So learning never stops with JavaScript. It's huge. And the way I'm trying to explain it is that I'm not trying to teach you React like a college course where we teach you, every single thing. And I'm trying to basically force the entire syllabus, and I'm not doing that to you. Instead, I have a very loose syllabus, and I'm looking at how much you guys can understand and how much you guys can, make sense of what I'm talking about. And based on that, I'm modifying the syllabus a little bit so you guys can keep up. So if you have problems, please fill in the feedback forms after the session, or you can reach out to me or to the events committee, or you can post in the chat. So we'll keep making changes, and I'll make sure that this makes a lot of sense to you, okay? But the only thing I need you to do is listen and follow instructions very carefully. If you miss out on a certain instruction, you lose that flow, so the rest of it won't make sense. So listen very carefully, ask me to repeat. I can repeat multiple times. I have no problem repeating stuff. So please ask me for if you have any clarifications. Okay, 42 people have reacted. So now let's look at the file structure on the left side. Look at the very first. Let's just close this. Look at the very first folder. It says public, right? So I'm going to open that, and you see a small file that says index.html. Okay, very small file that says index.html. I open it. That file is barely 43 lines. If you remove the comments, that's like, it'll hardly be like what, 10 lines, 15 lines. That's it. Okay, only one file in the public folder, index.html. So what basically happens is, take any React application, for example. Let's take our own one of the websites that Pattarai built back then. Let's go to elevate.pattarai.in. This is a React website. Okay, so now notice what's going to happen. That's a very basic React website. But if you look at the URL bar, does it tell you which page you're on? Does the URL bar tell you which page you're on inside the website right now? Does it show it on the URL? It doesn't. So by default, which page will it go to? Index. Yeah, any page that starts with the word index. It can be index.php or index.html. Whatever it is, it'll always default to the index page. Okay, that's the general rule of thumb. So this, what you're looking at right here, the index.html page, is what is the entry point to the application. So when we launch this React application on the cloud, or when we launch it on the internet on an actual server, if anybody goes to your React website, for example, I'm going to call mine, say, danielmark.com. And let's say there's a React application that is on that on that URL. When somebody goes to that address, they're going to be opening danielmark.com/index.html. Okay, by default, that's what will open. Now the good thing about React is that, remember I told you there's a virtual DOM and there's an actual DOM. I cleared it. There's a virtual DOM and an actual DOM, right? So what we'll be doing is, we'll be creating a virtual DOM on the RAM. So for instance, let's say let me pick some random person, Fabian. Let's say Fabian opens that website, and what happens is, my website will take Fabian's RAM, okay, the RAM on Fabian's computer, and it will create a virtual DOM on it. Okay, the web page will be loaded in his browser, Edge or Chrome or whatever. The web page will be loaded. The actual DOM will be loaded. The actual DOM will contain this index.html HTML file. Are you guys following along? If he opens my website, the index.html page will get loaded in the browser as the actual DOM. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Now what we do is, in the RAM we have a virtual DOM, right? So every time I want to make changes to what Fabian is looking at, I'm going to be making changes to the virtual DOM on the RAM. And every time I make changes to the virtual DOM on the RAM, the actual DOM will get affected by it and it will react to those changes, which is why React is called React. Okay, actual DOM reacts to changes in the virtual DOM, which is why we call React. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Yeah, perfect. So in the index.html folder, okay, cool. So on the index, on the index file, we will not be doing much of programming, very minimal programming, and we'll get into this later on when it gets more, when we look at more complex concepts. For now, do not touch the index.html page. Leave it as it is. Okay, I'm gonna close this. But before that, I want to show you one thing. If you look at the structure of this index.html page, you can see that it starts off with a normal doc type declaration, which says this is a regular HTML page, normal HTML page, okay? And we have a language specification and the head section. The head section will contain a bunch of meta tags. You don't have to know what these tags do exactly. They basically give the encoding of the document, as well as they say, hey, should I if this page is viewed on a mobile, should I shrink it to be responsive, stuff like that. You can ignore all the meta content. We'll not get into that for now. We'll come back to this later. Then if you look here, we have a shortcut icon and a manifest file. We'll not get into what the manifest file does for now. Shortcut icon, if you look at the tab, do you see the small icon on the tab? The code sandbox icon? That's what this is. The favicon.ico file is this picture on top. So whatever picture you specify here as your favicon will show up on top on your tab. Does that make sense? Understood what favicons do? You know what would be easier? If you guys can open your phone and go on Discord, and you can look at my stream on your laptop or computer or whatever, and you can react on your phone. So I can also see at the same time if you're listening. You don't have to unmute yourself all the time. Okay? Okay, cool. So that's what a favicon does. I'm going to scroll all the way down. There's a title tag. Title is very straightforward. What you put inside the title tag is what will show up on the tab name, okay? So it says React app here, but my output is on this window over here. This is the code sandbox's title, not my app's title. This is just a virtual environment inside the web page. So don't look at this. It's not the same thing. Also, we have something called a root element. So what is the root element? This is very important. Okay, pay close attention to this. You see this div tag that says has an ID of root. What does this do? What is this element basically? Can anybody explain what this element is? You can unmute and tell me this time. What is the root element over here? What is it? What's the function? Why do we put, just the root element inside the body, and there's nothing else inside the body? Why do we have this here? Can anybody explain? Sometimes the dumbest answers are the right answers, so you guys can literally just say whatever you want to say. We all are learning, so yeah, in a way what he said is right. All code that is on your web page, no matter which page you go to in your website, you can go to example.com/page1/page2/page3, no matter which page you go to, everything that you see in your browser, everything that you see inside that index.html file will be enclosed, will be a child of the root element. Does that make sense? Your root, this div, right, the root div will be the parent element all the time. Okay, this will make more sense when I teach components to you. We'll get into that in like 20 minutes ish, so I'll tell you what happens then. So all you need to know is that the root element is like the parent element. Okay, everything inside the web page is inside this element, okay, or inside these tags. That's all you need to know. That's about the index.html page. Now let's look at the second folder. You see a second folder called source, right, or src. If you haven't expanded it, expand it and have a look at what the files inside the source folder are really quick. Just take a look at what the source folder has. Done. Now what I want you to do is look at the first file over here, okay? No, don't look at the first file, sorry. Look at the second file, index.js. Okay? Index.js. Does everybody see index.js? Open index.js. React to my message from your phone, please. If you've opened index.js and you're looking at the file. It may look confusing at first, it may look really hard. Follow exactly what I tell you. Even if some things don't really make a lot of sense to you, just listen to what I'm saying and try to just follow along. At some point down the road, it'll make sense to you all of a sudden. You'll have a eureka moment and you'll be like, oh, okay, so this is what this does. This is how it's done. And you guys will basically, all of it will just come to you all of a sudden, okay? Even if it doesn't make sense now. But most of you are competent, so please listen, okay? Okay, 40 people react to that message. I'm going to continue. So what does this index.js file do? Now this index.js file is the entry point to the application. If you move your mouse over the index.js file, you see there's a small piece of gray text that says entry, right? You see the word entry next to it? What this means is that this index.js file is the entry point to your React application. Okay, so we talked about real DOM, we talked about virtual DOM, right? Your real DOM is your public, is in your public folder, the index.html file. That's your real DOM. Your virtual DOM will be contained inside this index.js file. Make sense? Index.js will contain your virtual DOM. Index.html will contain your real DOM. Make sense? Okay, perfect. Now what we're going to do is we are going to put some code inside this index.js file. Okay? And I'll explain what the code does. But before that, what you have to notice is that on line number 9, you see a small tag here that says app, right? It's a self-closing tag. App. Do you see app? Do all of you see app? Line number 9. React to my message again if you see it. Okay, perfect. Now what you guys do is app over here is what's known as a component. Okay, this is a component, literally. If you look on top on line number 4, you see a line that says import app from /app, right? I'll explain what this is. Now your React application, like I said, can be made of many different components, right? For instance, let's take the Twitter homepage. Let's just take Twitter for example. Just take this entire web page and try to break it down into components really quickly. People have already, I've given this example a few times before. Please don't answer. The rest of you try to answer. Break this simple web page down into components. Remember, a component is nothing but a piece of UI that does a common function. Break this web page down into components. Give it any name you want, but just describe to me what each component is and where it is on the page. Should I call somebody out? Let's see. Jayasuriya K. Are you listening? I want you to unmute when I call your names out. Otherwise, you can type in the chat. Okay, it's fine. Jayasuriya, are you here? Yeah, I can hear you. So can you just give it a try? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. We're all gonna make just guesses here. Okay. So break this page down into components. Go. Okay, on the left side there's a navbar. Perfect. That's a navbar component. What else? Perfect. That's another component. What else? Okay, that's a search component on the top right side. What else? Okay, yeah. Trending stuff. What's happening? That's another component. Trending component. I think that's pretty much the page, right? Except you have like a status update, like a tweet component as well. But we can just skip this for now. But he basically broke down the page. Perfect. Okay, good job. He broke the page down into multiple components. That's basically all a React application is, okay? You take a huge web page, you separate it into multiple components that has its own job, and then you put these components together to form a big web page. Does that make sense? Do all of you get the example? What I mean when I say components? Do all of you get what components mean in this case? Okay, I'm gonna post a message. React. Let's see. Perfect. All of you are listening. That's good. Crystal Darling is typing. Do you have a doubt? Alright. So yeah, that's basically it. So we're breaking it down into components. Now, if you come back to this application here, this app thing you see here is a component. And we can't simply just insert a component inside the page, right? We need to import that component. So what we're doing is, if you look at the file structure, you see this file that says app.js, right? There's a file called app.js, right? You see that file? Double click on it. It should open up as another file, okay, for editing. Double click on app.js. Once you do that, let me know. React to the message again, please. Open app.js. For today and most days, what I'll do is I'll stay back for an additional, say, even 1 hour, okay? If you have doubts, if you want to talk, if you feel uncomfortable in a big group, and if you just want to, ask me doubts separately, I'll be staying for an extra whole hour. You guys can stay back, ask me any kind of any questions you want related to React, and I'll help you out with the whole thing, okay? If large crowds are your problem, then do that, okay? So all if you got the app.js file. Now this represents a component, okay? Now if you look at the contents inside this file, okay? It says there's a h1 tag and it says hello code sandbox. h2 tag, and there's content inside it that says start editing to see some magic happen. So you see two different lines here, right? And this whole thing together, this entire file together, as a whole is called a component. So now what you're doing is you're creating a file, you're giving it some name, and you're saving it with the extension .js. This will be called as a component. Now what you can do is in your index file, you can basically insert that component into your index file. So as soon as you insert it into your index file, it will show up on your web page on the output. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line and I'm going to cut it. The minute I cut it, the output on the right side disappears. Why? Because I haven't added that component to my index.js file yet. I removed the component so it doesn't show up on the output. So now even my real DOM does not have this component. Does that make sense to all of you? I edited the virtual DOM. Okay. So if you look at your index.js file, I have included the app component, right? The app component is in the app.js file. This entire code constitutes a component. And I have included that inside my index.js file. First, I've imported it. and then I have included it in the tree structure. So it shows up on the web page. I have inserted this into the virtual DOM. The real DOM knows that the virtual DOM has this, and it replicates it on the web page as the output. Does that make sense? Who asked me that out? 11 prints. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a change to the virtual DOM. I'm going to delete that line app. I'm going to delete that component. So now nothing gets rendered because I deleted the component, right? I'm going to put it back in. It's going to show up again. Now we can take this a step further. What I can do is I can go to my app.js file and I can modify this. So let me say hello, the name of the club. Okay, I got it right. See, it changes in real time on the right side. You guys see the change happen, right? I can change components. Every change I make to any of these JS files will be changing the virtual DOM. And when the virtual DOM changes, the real DOM will react to it and the output will happen live. Make sense? You can put as many components as you want inside here. You can import them into the index file and they'll all show up on the web page as the output. Does that make sense to all of you? Okay, perfect. There's not a big concept that I just explained, so I'm just going to continue. Now what happens is you need to understand a small difference. There's a small difference between your app.js file and your index.js file. Give me a second. Okay, yeah. So there's a small difference between app.js file and your index.js file. The difference is that index file should not be modified by you. Do not modify the index file, and I'll tell you why. Leave this file as it is. Just leave it alone. Please don't modify it. You'll break it. If you break it, your entire app won't work. Don't do anything to this for now. We'll come back to this later. Okay? Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to create new components and we're going to embed them to the output. Okay? How do we do that now? I'm going to create a new component and I'm going to make it show up on the web page. So how do we do that? Go to your source folder and just click on the little where's that new file icon. Or if you go to your source folder and click on the new file icon, and you should be able to give it a name, right? All of you do that for me, please. Once you create a new file, call that comp.js or give it any name starting with a capital letter, okay? It's best practice to start names with capital letters when you're defining components, okay? So do comp.js, like capital C, comp.js. For the sake of simplicity, follow the same names that I give you. It'll be easier for us to debug if anything breaks. Got it? I just hit enter, it's created that file, okay? It's that simple. I'm gonna put this up on the chat. React if you have created that file. Comp.js on the left side underneath the source folder. Create that file, have it open. Once you're done, react to that message, please. 38 people. Okay, I'm gonna wait for a little more. I'm gonna say the average count is 52 people, so I'll wait till 52 reactions come through. Please follow along. 50 minutes more. We should be done really quick with this. All I'm gonna do is explain how components work, and after which we are very quickly going to look at the index file for a bit, and then I'll show you how to install React locally on your local system, so we can start building local applications from tomorrow or probably the day after, depending on how things go today. Okay, 50 reactions, perfect. 51. Okay, the other person should get it probably. So okay, yeah, so comp.js. Now what we're going to do is we are going to create a React component. First step to creating a React component is to import React. Okay, all of you start typing. Very simple. Okay, I'm just going to dictate. You're going to look at my stream and you're going to type. Okay, so just type in the words import React all of you typing along with me. Import React with a capital R. Okay, import React from, do double quotes and just type the word React with small r, okay, and a semicolon. All of you done that? Import React. Okay, do that really quick for me. I'm going very slowly in the beginning, but this is basic stuff that you'll do for like every component we ever create. So as time goes by, I'll stop asking you questions like this, and I'll up the pace a little more. So just try to follow along today. I'm going very slowly. Import React really quickly. 24, 25. Okay. Faster, guys. Keep the pace up, please. People are reacting to the message above it. $49. Okay, come on. Quick. 50. Okay, perfect. Now what I want you to do is we are going to create a function. Those of you who come from Python, I don't know what to say to you, but if you've been learning languages like say I don't know, JS or like C++ or Elixir or PHP, you should know what functions are, right? Very basic stuff. How do you create a function in JavaScript? Anybody wants to volunteer? How do you create a function in JavaScript? Experienced people, please don't answer. Freshmen, I'm talking to you. First years. College kids. I mean, school kids. Anybody want to volunteer? How do you create a JavaScript function? I'm teaching you JavaScript from scratch, guys. It's supposed to be a React workshop, but I'm teaching you JavaScript. So please cooperate. Finish this really quick. How do you create a function in JavaScript? No volunteers. I'm going to pick people randomly. Who is this? Aaron. Okay. Function keyword, name of the function, right? In this case, what I want you to do is, okay, perfect. And in this case, what I want to do is, every time you create a function, I want you to name this function with the same name as the name of the file. Okay, so import, so function comp and a pair of parentheses, okay? So you've created a function and you're going to put the function's content inside the braces. You've basically created a function, that's it. I haven't put any other content inside it, it's just a normal JavaScript function. Please do that. Once you're done, react to my message. There's autocomplete. You just have to type in half the word and the rest of it will just complete automatically. It's that simple. So 22, 23, 24. If you're good at listening, you don't even have to watch my stream. You can listen to what I'm saying. You can look at your browser window and you can just program at the same time. Okay, 40, 41, 42, faster guys, come on. This is very simple stuff. We need to be done as quick as possible. Alright, now listen. Inside your function, you have to put some content inside it. Whatever you put inside this function will show up on the web page, right? So inside this function, every function's children should have a parent, okay? I'll tell you how. For instance, let's say you want to put 2 lines of text inside. So let's say I want to put Danny, and let's say I want to put my second name, Mark. Okay? If I put if I want to put 2 lines or basically 2 children inside this function, it will result in an error. You can't do that because all of your children should be enclosed by a single parent element, which is why we are going to take this and delete it, and we are going to create a parent element. Now if you don't know what parent element to give, simply do this, okay? Does that make sense? It's not a tag, it's just an opening and closing bracket, and it's sort of like a very empty tag. That can be your parent, literally. All you have to do is enclose all your children within some parent element, okay? It doesn't even have to be an element, it can literally be just an indicator of that sort. Does that make sense? Create that thing that I just told you. If it doesn't make sense, just do it. As time goes by, you'll figure out why we did what we did, okay? Faster guys, come on. Okay, I'm just gonna continue. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a h1, a level 1 heading tag, okay? I'm just gonna do h1, slash h1, and inside h1 I'm gonna say, hey, this is a component. Perfect. And now after my h1, I'm going to create another line, and I'm going to put in, say, a h3 tag. There's not a complete on this. Okay. And let's say this is the content inside my component. Okay, very simple stuff. Done. Just create those 2 lines really quickly and let me know once you've done that. React to that message. Okay. Okay. Put any content you want. I don't care what content you put. Just put anything you want. But just make it quick, please. 16, 17, 18. Faster, guys. Come on. Okay, that's really quick. Good. Okay, now what I want you guys to do is, okay, if you notice, there's 3 problems here, 3 that I can think of. 1, this component doesn't show up on the output. Why? Because we haven't inserted this component into the actual DOM. How do we insert into the actual DOM? Go back to your app.js page, okay? Now remember very carefully, whenever you want to make changes to your actual DOM, you will be modifying the app.js file. Now I remember I told you that the index.js file controls the virtual DOM, right? But think of the index.js file as, say, the grandparent. You never go to the grandparent, you always leave it alone. Instead, you go to the app.js file. The app.js file gets inserted into the index file. So all your changes will be made to the app.js file. Okay, never touch the index.js file. The index.js file will automatically take whatever is in app and it will output it to the actual DOM, right? So index.js is the controller of the virtual DOM and is the entry point, but you will not do anything to it. Leave it as it is. Make all your changes in the app.js file. So now what I want to do is I want to create my component and render it on the output. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import that component first. First thing you would do is go to your app.js file, and what we are going to do is import that. So I'm going to say import comp, import comp from double quotes /comp. Got it? That's all you have to do. Import the name of the component. This can be any name. You can give this any name, okay? It doesn't depend on anything else. You can give this literally any name you want. From ./comp, right? If you notice, the ./comp is a reference to the comp.js file here. But you don't put in any extension over here, okay? It's just ./comp. You don't put any extension, okay? So you're importing this component and you're assigning it to this JavaScript variable called comp. Done? React to my message if you have done that. All of you import that. Alright, let's go back to coding again. Import is done. Okay, now what I want you to do is we are going to render that. How do you render it? You simply type it as a child of your app component, okay? If you notice on top, we have a div with a class name of app, right? Just put that component's name inside there as a tag. So I'm just going to do comp, close it, boom, done. Do that, it'll throw an error, okay? Because I remember I told you we have 3 potential errors that we have to fix. We have fixed only 1 error. We'll have to fix 2 more in order to render stuff. If you get this flow right, you can start building pages, you can start putting components, you can do a lot of stuff in terms of routing. So just do this, okay? Put your component insert it into the tree. Do that for me really quick, please. All of you done that? Let me post another message. Please react to the message if you have, return the component to the app element. Done. We got only 40 minutes more. I'm trying to not rush through this, but like try to finish the entire thing as much as I can. 37 people. Please type in the line. The file is open. This is the entire file, okay? If anything is missing, just compare and figure out what's missing. Type it in. It's very straightforward. I added only 2 things to this. Alright, 44 people. Alright, so what we're going to do is, we're going to fix the other 2 errors. Now go back to your comp.js file. There's one more mistake in this file. Guess what it is? What is our mistake in this file? Any guesses? Read the error statement that you got on the right side of the screen. You'll know what the error is. Okay, who's that with the answer? Name please, I can't see who's talking. Who gave the answer right now? Lawrence, okay, perfect. He was right, okay? You gotta export the component. Now in order to export the component, you'll have to export the function. This whole function itself is a component, right? So you'll have to export that function itself. All you gotta do is type in front of it saying export default. Okay? Just type the words export default in front of it, okay? Error 2 has been solved. Okay? Export done. I'm gonna post a message. Please react to it. Just put the words export default. You're exporting that entire function from that file to its parent. That's basically what export does. Once you've done that, react, and we'll do a final fix that should hopefully just fix all of our problems. 26. Are you guys stuck? If you're stuck, please tell me. Unmute yourself, ask me. I'll help you. 28, 29, 30. Right. Is right, perfect. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is one last problem. Does anybody want to guess what the last problem is? Lawrence again, huh? Allison Day. I told experienced people, please don't give out answers. I want the freshmen to answer, but okay. You have to return the content, okay? You have a function, you're exporting it, but whatever's inside the function has to be returned to its calling function, right? So what we're gonna do is we are going to cut line 4 to line 7. All of you selected line 4 to line 7, just select the whole text and cut it. I haven't cut it yet, I'm just selecting it. Please cut it. Don't delete it, cut it, okay? I need you to paste it back again. So don't delete it, please. Once you do it, just react to that message so I'll know you've cut it. I've cut it too. 18, 19, 20, okay. Come on, it's gonna be 6:30. We need to be done. 36, 37, 38. Also, one more thing. I'm not just teaching you React. I'm gonna teach you React is very small. I can teach you in like 3 days. Okay, that's basically how much time it will take for me to teach React in 3 days. To teach React the library. The problem is React is just a way of creating components, right? But in order to build a website, you need more than just components. You need routing, you need bundling, you need linting, you need animations, all sorts of stuff, making API calls, all that stuff, right? So I'm going to be teaching you a lot more than just React. I'm going to teach you how to build a web application with React. I'm not going to teach you React. I'm going to teach you how to build a web application with React as advertised, okay? So React is only the first 3 or 4 days. The rest of it is just going to be a bunch of different libraries that we're going to like play around with and build a big application, okay? 45 of you have reacted, so we're going to continue. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to create a return function. I'm just going to say return, and inside my return function I'm going to paste what I just cut and remove the semicolon. Done. You should see the output in real time on the right side. Done. React to my message if you've gotten the output. Are you guys stuck? Did you make any mistakes? Do you need me to explain the process again? Please talk to me and tell me if you've run into a problem. I'll tell you one other thing. In case... Okay, yeah. Guess there's a doubt. Another thing, in case you guys learn React, you can learn Angular. React is like the simplest thing to learn. It'll give you all the basic stuff, all the fundamentals you need to learn a JavaScript framework. Once you do that, you can learn pretty much any other framework. You can learn Angular, Vue, Next, Nuxt, Gatsby. I don't know, there's like so many frameworks. You can learn pretty much anything. Start with React, okay? That's what I'll always tell you. A lot of people would come and a lot of people would ask us this question, React or Angular, which one should I learn? Learn React, always start with React. Even if you want to learn Angular, I would say start with React. React takes 1 week to learn probably. That's it, at the most. If you're a medium or a slow learner, 1 to 2 weeks, that's it. If you do that, you have your fundamentals, right. And once that is done, you can move on to Angular and you can pick it up really quick. So I would always suggest starting with React no matter what you want to build in terms of front end. Right? Okay, 40 of you got it. I'm waiting for 10 more of you. If you don't get the output, we cannot build anything else, so please don't just sit there when you're stuck. Let me know. $46, okay. Guys, four of you remain. Who are the 4 of you? I'll help you out really quick. Just let me know who you guys are. 47, 3 of you. 48, 2, 1. Okay. If you need help, please tell me, or I'm gonna continue. Okay. I'm gonna stay back and fix it. So that's done. So you guys figured out how to make a component and how to insert it into the actual DOM. All of you done? Did you understand the concept? Did you guys figure out how this works? I'm talking about the entire thing that I showed you so far. Index app, index.html, making your own component, importing it, rendering it, returning it, exporting it. All of it should be done. That's a whole concept by itself. That's like the crux of React, basically. Gotten it? 20 and 22. Okay, 50 if you got the output. 25, 26, 27. Any questions, guys? I'm asked general questions like about React or about what you've seen so far. Any questions at all, please ask me. Unmute yourself. Ask me if you got any doubts. We'll clear it right now because the next stage is going to be a little different. So once we finish this, we'll be done with this and we'll move on to something a little more different. So ask me any questions you have related to this concept and we'll finish it right here and now. Half an hour, we should be done perfectly. No doubts? 40 of you got the concept, 10 of you? Yeah. This comp.js file, you want me to explain the function? Oh. Okay. So take regular JavaScript. I'm going to give you a small example. Let's take regular JavaScript. We'll go to our whiteboard. And in here, regular JavaScript, okay? Not even JavaScript, any programming language for that matter. Pick any programming language. What do? You have a small function somewhere at the bottom. and this function is going to have some code inside it, right? It's going to do something. It's going to do some function. You have it somewhere at the bottom of your program, say on line 1200, somewhere on top or somewhere in any other part of the program. Let's say on line 20 or something. Let's say you are writing some line of code over here, okay? And now what you want to do is you want to call a certain function to perform a certain task. And I'm going to say, hey, I want to call the function that's on line 1200, and right after this line of code executes, this function should execute, and once this finishes executing, I want it to send back an output of some sort to the calling function. Does that make sense? This is regular programming. I'm just explaining a concept. Okay, function calls make sense, right? So that's basically what we are doing here. What we're doing is, inside this function, the code that we write here is our component, okay? We're literally putting our component. The function that calls this component would be your app.js. Your app.js has a parent, which is the index.js. Your index.js would then control your index.html. So real DOM, virtual DOM, parent, component. So now what we're doing is, for this component to be rendered properly, if you look at the code again, you see that we are returning something from inside the function, right? We're returning all of the content inside the component, right? What happens in a return statement? It takes stuff that is inside the return statement and it passes it to whatever called it. Does that make sense? So when you go back to your whiteboard, this line over here that called it, this line or this file in app.js, or this line that is inside app.js, calls the component, right? And when you call the function, calls the function. When you call the function will return the component to the app.js file. The app.js file will then receive it, it'll add it to index. Index will then say, hey, the state, or like the state has changed, the virtual DOM state has changed. And when the virtual DOM state has changed, it will automatically react and it will create a change in the actual DOM, which will cause this component to show up on your web browser. That's basically what the function does. Make sense? Okay, perfect. Any other questions, guys? 43 people got the concept. 7 more. 8 more actually. Guys, who are the 7? Who are the 7 more? 8 more people. Okay, let's see. Okay, simply don't click on the button for no reason. Don't click on it simply. Please, if you have doubts, please clear it right now. Don't simply click on the button to make it 50. I'm not gonna lose anything. You guys are gonna lose. Okay, all right. So if you guys don't want to ask me, then it's cool. We'll just move on. That's about okay, functions. Okay, anybody notice anything weird about this file? About the way we write code? We calling this .js, right? .js stands for JavaScript. But did you notice something weird about the code that we're putting inside the JS file? Anybody? Guys who already know JS, please do not answer. Freshers, try. What's weird about this code that we've written inside every JS file? About the way it looks and the way the syntax is? Any guesses? Who's that? Please say your name first, because I don't know who's talking. Say your name and then tell me. Crispin, okay. What did you say? Yeah, it's like a HTML file, right? I'll tell you why. What we're looking at right now is not HTML, but it is what's known as JSX, okay? JSX. JSX is basically short for JavaScript and XML. So let's go back to the whiteboard again. A little bit of theory, like just 2 minutes, okay? Whiteboard. Let's see. Perfect. JSX is what we write our code in. Before JSX stands for JavaScript and XML, right? And before that, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what XML is, okay? What is XML? What is the full form of XML? All of you know this. Just come on, unmute yourself, tell me what the answer is. Type the answer, whatever, just I need the full form of XML. Markup language. That's perfectly right. Extensible markup language. What does XML do? What is the purpose of XML? Guys, you guys Google and you write your exams, right? At least, even if you're gonna Google this and tell me the answer. Talk. That's all I want you to do. What's the use of XML? Alright, if nobody's gonna answer, we're gonna do this a little differently. I'll answer this question, but we'll do this differently tomorrow. What XML basically does is it describes, so take any web page for example. The stuff that you see on the web page, XML will basically describe how this stuff is going to look and what it's going to do. XML is more like a description language, okay? That's basically what you're doing with HTML. HTML is also a type of markup language, except with HTML, you would be describing how a web page looks. With XML, you can describe not just web pages but a bunch of other different files. You can describe what the contents inside of the file look like and what they do. That's all that XML does. So with JSX, what we're basically doing is we are using JavaScript and we're embedding HTML data inside it. The spelling of HTML is wrong. We're embedding HTML data inside the JavaScript file using a format known as JSX, and it's very simple. And I'll show you the format, okay? All if you know regular HTML, right? Let's just go back to the browser. All if you know regular HTML, right? Look at this div tag, regular HTML. H2 tag, regular HTML. Where do you see a difference? Class name, that's different, right? Because in regular HTML you would call this class, whereas in JSX you would call this class name with a capital N. Does that make sense? That's one of the biggest differences between JSX and normal HTML. Class would be called class name. You guys follow? Also, why is it called class name? Why can't we just call it class the way we do in HTML? Anybody wanna try? Why do we not call it class? Why do we call this class name specifically? The answer is really simple. If you guys have been following along, you would know. I'll pick a random person. Varshini, are you here? Okay, so why do we call it class name instead of class? We could just call it class like we do in HTML, right? But inside a JSX file or inside a JavaScript file, why do we call class as class name instead? What do you think is the reason? You don't know? Okay. Who's this? Okay, yeah, go. Yeah, perfect. The class is a JavaScript reserved keyword, okay? If you use class, it'll conflict with JavaScript, which is why we call HTML class as class name. That's the only reason why we changed the name. There are a couple of more differences. We will get into it as we look at more concepts. For now, let's just focus on just this alone, okay? Regular HTML, in terms of where you have class, you will put class name. That's it, okay? Now what we're going to do is that's about JSX. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the index file a little bit more. The entry file. All of you open the index file. Please open the index file really quick. It may seem very slow. The stuff that you're coding right now is just 2 lines, right? That's all we've done in terms of output. Start with this. If you get the concept right first, we can make huge progress very quickly. So just try to wrap your head around this. Don't get demotivated or discouraged saying, hey, it's been 2 hours but you've showed us only 2 lines. That's not, output isn't the point here. Concept is what we're going after. So just open your index.js file. Once you've done that, look at this. On top, what we're doing is we are importing line 1, okay? Line 1. We are importing strict mode from React. What is strict mode and why do we need it? You don't really have to worry about it, but I'm just going to tell you in 1 line. Strict mode, basically what it does is, in case you're developing a React application, and if you look over here on the right side, you see this tab that says problems, right? Look at the bottom, it says problems, right? You probably can't see it because of my face. Give me 1 second. Right. Okay, perfect. So if you look at the bottom right side, you see this thing called problems, right? This word here that says problems. Click on that word and you'll see a bunch of problems. Do you see it? React to the message if you found the little tab that says problems. By 6:50 we should be done with this whole thing, and I'm going to teach you how to install React locally. We'll do that, and from tomorrow we can probably start local dev. I'm not sure if we can do local dev right away and how complicated it'll be, but we'll try. So please just keep up with the speed. 34 people. All of you locate the problems tab. Even if you don't, it's actually fine. It's not a big deal. The reason why I asked you to locate that is if you read the stuff inside problems, you see that React has generated a bunch of problems and saying, hey, your app has this problem, it has this problem, it's got this warning, that warning. You're using this which is, you know, out of date, or it's from an earlier version of React. All kinds of stuff they keep reporting, right? This is generated by strict mode. So all you got to do is you got to enclose your main app component or your main app.js component inside strict mode. Okay, if you enclose it inside strict mode, whatever is inside strict mode will be checked. It'll check it for stuff like if you're up to date on the React API, or if you're using something that is outdated, or if you're using something that can potentially cause a problem in rendering. All those different problems, right? Those will show up on the console. That's basically what strict mode does. This strict mode will be activated only during development. So what you guys are looking at right now in the browser over here is what's called a development build. Okay, this is not your production build. This is only for development purposes. Once we finish developing the entire application and test it using this development build, we will do what's known as building the application. When we build the application, your output will be what format will your output be in? I just explained it at the beginning of the session. Somebody want to answer? Dinesh Raj, are you here? Nope, non-responsive. Even company, just make a note of people who never respond. So I'm gonna say Harsha Shakti. Are you here? Nope. Okay, let's make a note of that as well. Pinto Infant. Pinto, are you here? Okay, yeah, I can hear you. What will the output be? Once we build the application and we, export it as a production build, output on the end format la irukum. The answer is 3 words. Did you figure it out, Pinto? No, okay, let's move on to say, who's this? Vishnu Simhar. You here? Okay, what will the output be in? What format will the output be in? It's very simple, 3 words. I've been repeating this throughout the last hour and 45 minutes. Lawrence Melvin, at least you. You have a development build here. You're building it and you're building a React application. Once you finish building it, you export it as a production build to be put on a server. The production build will be made up of what files will the production build have? JavaScript. That's it. That's the answer I was looking for. I've been telling you that since the beginning. React is entirely comprised of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That was the answer. And if you guys can't even answer such a simple question, then I don't think you've been following all that well. Anyway, we'll see. So that's about it. Then what else? Okay, yeah. Look at line number 6. It says const root element equals document.get element by ID of root. Just look at line number 6. Do all of you see line number 6? Look at line number 6 in the index.js file. Did all of you find it? What does this line do? Does somebody want to explain to me? What does this line do here? Yeah, it tells React that this is the root element. You're getting an element by its ID, and you're passing the word root inside it, right? Where did we see this? If you go back to your public file, to your public folder, and look at your index.html file, you see there's a tag here with an ID that says root, right? And what did I tell you in the beginning? I told you that no matter what you build, it'll all get embedded inside the root as a child of the root element, right? That's basically what you're doing here in the index file. You are making a reference to this element in the index.html page. Okay, you're making a reference and you're assigning it to the variable called root element. Does that make sense? Please respond, react to that message if you understood what we just did. Regular, okay, this is regular JavaScript, okay, ES5, ES6, normal JavaScript. You have an element on a web page, okay? The ID is root. Now in my index.js file, I want to connect this variable to this element on the index.html page. So what I'm doing is I'm saying const variable name root element equals, and I'm connecting it to the HTML element that has an ID of root. Okay, so I'm doing document.get element by ID of root. This root is what you pass as the ID here. So you're getting this element by its ID, and you're assigning it to a JavaScript variable called root element. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. 28, 29, guys, react to the message if you understood what we did with the root element. I simply just captured it from the real DOM and I connected it to my JavaScript variable in index.js. That's all I did. Also, please look at the message that Fabian Ferno has posted. There's a small checkbox in the roles channel. React to that. React to the question or whatever is in that channel if you're interested in continuing the workshop. So you'll be given roles, I guess, and we'll give you certificates at the end of this. The rest of you, if it's too much for you and if you feel this is not for you, you're free to leave. So I don't mind people leaving, honestly. If you're really interested, you can stay and you can learn. Right, so all of you got it, 41 reactions. I'm gonna continue. So what we've done is we have made a reference to the root element in the HTML page, right? Once that is done, I am calling a JavaScript function. Okay, I'm gonna say react DOM dot render. Okay, this is a JavaScript function that I'm calling, and this render function is going to take two different parameters. Okay, two different parameters. Look carefully. One parameter is this piece of HTML right here, strict mode app/strict mode. Got it? Two parameters. Okay, one is this piece of HTML code, the other one is the word root element. Okay, I'm simply calling a React function called render, and this render function takes two parameters. Okay, one is your piece of HTML code and the other one is the root element variable that we just created on top. Does everybody follow? React to the message if you got what I said. Perfect. 25, 26, 27. Come on, guys. Does it not make sense? Ask me if you're stuck. Do you want me to repeat it? Please ask me. I'll repeat it. Okay, so what I'm doing is I have a JavaScript function, a React function. It's called the render function, okay? And this function will take two parameters. This is basic programming. Even Python has the same thing, right? You call a function and you pass parameters to it, right? So this function, this render function, is an inbuilt function that comes along with React. And this function will take two different arguments, okay? So if you look at my two arguments, one is some HTML, and the second argument is the variable that I just created and assign the root element to. There's a comma in between separating them. Can you see the comma? So that's two different parameters, one on top and one at the bottom. I'm taking those two parameters and I'm passing it to the render function. You guys got it? 38 reactions. Okay, 38 reactions. Okay, I'll do it with probably whatchamacallit, the whiteboard. Alright. Alright, so what we're doing is we have an index.html page. Okay, and this has the root component inside it, or the div that has an ID of root. Then you have your index.js file, inside which we have a little function that renders the entire application. Okay, the render function. This render function will take two different parameters, okay? Parameter 1 and parameter 2. Just like any regular function, you call a function, you pass two parameters, right? Does that make sense? You guys follow so far? Okay, the first one, what we'll do is we are going to pass our app component as a first parameter, okay? Remember, our app component further has multiple subcomponents or multiple components that we import into it. The app component basically contains our entire application. So we're importing our entire application and we're passing it as the first parameter to the render function. Make sense? You guys follow up until now? Okay, perfect. Second argument is basically telling the render function, hey, I've gotten all these components, okay? I've gotten all these components, but where do I render them? I render them in the root component. Does that make sense? Guys, does it not make sense? Okay, perfect. So that's basically what that function does. Let's go back to the code. Yeah, so and if you'll notice, I'm not just passing the app, instead I'm enclosing the app inside strict mode. Now what we can do is we can remove the strict mode if you want to, but it would be easier. It would still work, okay? The app would still compile. The reason why we enclose it with strict mode is so that when development we can look at potential problems and we can fix them. That's the only reason why we put strict mode in there. This will get ignored when we create a production build. Okay, this is there only in development for development purposes. So that's basically your two parameters that you pass to your render function. Now once you pass this to the render function, this index.js file will take that app and it will render it in as a child of the root function. And how do I say this? I'm going to show you what exactly I mean by this. Now let's go back to our components. If you look at the comp.js file, you see that we have some headings here, right? All of you see we have headings inside a component, and this shows up over here as the output, right, on the right side. All of you see that. Now what is the parent, what's the parent element of all these components? Technically it should be the root element, right? How do we prove that? How do I prove that to you? I'm gonna prove that to you right now. So I'm gonna hold down Ctrl+Shift+I, and I'm going to open the inspector window, and I'm going to right click and inspect. Okay, and now over here, look at the code. HTML page, blah blah blah, body, root, right? And now if I hover over the root element, you can see that the stuff in blue that gets highlighted here, right? The entire app gets highlighted in blue. What does this tell you? If I expand the root element, I have an app component inside it. If I expand the app component, I have all my components as children, right? The whole thing together gets inserted into the app component. The app component then gets passed to the index file. The index file will then insert it as a child of the root component. The root component is in the index.html file. So what you're looking at right here is the index.html file. That's the entire thing embedded into the index.html file. That's basically how you create an entire application as a single page, which is why React is called a single page application, or an SPA. Does that make sense? That's React entirely. Do you guys follow? Do you need me to explain something else? All the others, I'm just gonna post a message. React to that message if you got what React is and how the rendering happens and why we call it a single page application. You may not understand why it's called a single page application yet, but as you know, more sessions progress, I'll show you why we call it a single page application. Okay, 44 people reacted with understood. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is one last thing. You guys are going to do a local installation of React. 4 minutes remaining. We can finish in 4 minutes if you do it really quick. Really quick, open your browser, go to a new tab, go to node.js.org. Really quick, I'm going to paste this link in the channel. Head over to the website really quick. Once you've done, just react to that link with the Pattarai logo. Okay? Open the website very quick. This should have already been done by you last night. If you haven't, then download click on this button here that says LTS. There's 2 different buttons. Don't install this one. This might have breaking changes and it's a bleeding edge release. You do not want this on the right side. You want the one that is on the left side. LTS stands for long-term support. So whatever comes out in this installation will have long-term support. It's well tested, well documented, won't break easily. So with this is not just with Node.js, but with any software download, always go for the LTS version. Unless you're like a hardcore programmer and you really know what you're doing and you know how it works underneath the hood. If you know all that stuff, then go for like bleeding edge release, but expect things to get broken. So all of you download LTS if you haven't. How many of you downloaded in the first place? Just react to that message if you've downloaded already. I'll post another message. I posted another message that says downloaded, right? How many of you have already downloaded Node.js and installed it? Please react to that message. This is on the requirements on the poster itself. If you haven't, it's really small. Just click on it. MSI file will download. Double click on an MSI file. Global installation for all users. Boom. Node.js is installed globally on your system. Close the installation thingy. 36 of you have downloaded it. The rest of you, please download it as quickly as possible. Let's see. That's like, I know, it's pretty small, I guess. Done, guys? Yes. Okay. Perfect. 41 people have downloaded. Okay, once you've done that, you can close this. And what you do is, we are going to go to the React official website. Okay, head over to react.js.org and copy the link. Let me see. I'm going to paste another link. Open that link really quick. All of you react to that link once you open it. Don't do anything until I tell you to. Go to that link really quick. React to that message once you open that link. It might be 7.3 or 7.4 depending on when you guys finish the installation, but it's super simple. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we are going to create another scene, and let me show you something. Hang on. Alright, so at the moment you guys are on, can you guys see my file structure? Windows Explorer. Is it visible to all of you? You guys should be able to see my file explorer, right? Perfect. You guys can take any folder on your computer, literally any folder. Just pick any folder where you want to create your React app locally. Just pick any folder. Once that is done, let me know. Pick a folder, please. Let me know. React to my message once you pick a folder. Don't create a new folder, just pick any folder. React will automatically create another folder for you inside that folder. So don't make a folder, just pick a random folder where you want to put your app. 17 people. 37. Okay, now what I want you to do is, I mean, if I know some of you are on MacBooks, if you are, then I'm sorry, help yourself. So I'm gonna go back to my Windows Explorer, and if you look at the address bar, okay? Just click on the address bar once. It should automatically get selected. All the text inside the address bar gets selected. Do that really quick for me. Go to your address bar, click on the address bar, and type the word CMD. Got it? Please do that. Pick any folder. In the address bar, just type the words CMD. Delete everything that's in the address bar already, and just type the word CMD. Once you've done that, hit enter. I'll show you what happens once that's done, okay? Window capture. Let's add this. Perfect. Perfect. So do you guys see the command prompt window that just opened? Please react to that message if you successfully open command prompt inside any folder of your choice. Make it fast, guys. This is very simple. You can install React in just 3 steps. So if you do that, we can leave. $40 people. Okay, perfect. All of you got it. I'm assuming the other 4 are Mac users. I'll help you. I don't know what the exact procedure open CMD inside a tab folder is. Anyway, got it? Okay, now what you do is go back to the website. Let's go back to our browser. And if you look here, it says npx create react app my app, right? Oh wait, you know what? Let's just make it easier. Don't copy that. Don't do anything. Just go back to your CMD instead, and just type what I'm asking you to type. Okay? Type what I'm asking you to type. All of you ready to type? React to the message if you're ready to type. All of you go back to CMD. Wait for my instruction. I'll tell you what exactly to type. 38, 39, 40. Okay. Okay, now what I want you to do is type the word npx space create react app. Type these 2 words, npx space create react app space the name of the app that you want to create. General rule of thumb, lowercase, use hyphens instead of spaces. Don't put any spaces in the names. Use hyphens, make them all lowercase, okay? So I want to say React tutorial 1 npx space create react app space react tutorial 1. I'm not going to do an explanation. We're only going to install this. Tomorrow we'll come back and I'll do an explanation of what's inside this and what basically happened. All of you done typing it? Once you're done typing it, hit enter. And react to my message once you've done typing it. Perfect. So all of you should see an output that looks like what I'm getting on my screen. Just don't do anything. Don't touch any keyboard screen. Don't touch any keyboard. Don't do anything on the screen. Just let it play. It'll automatically do its job. Okay. It's basically downloading the whole React library from the internet, and it is installing it with the help of Node. And I'll explain in detail what happens under the hood tomorrow, because we don't have time today. But just do this one step and your React application should be ready. Okay, please just do that. And I'll also show you a few really cool tools tomorrow, so you can feel like an actual programmer. So just when you guys come back tomorrow, I'll show you, like, instead of using CMD and complicating things, I'll show you some shortcuts. I'll show you some tools. So let's just wait for that to finish installing. It should be done really quick. 29 of you have reacted. Are the others still stuck? Please just follow the instructions, type exactly what I've typed, and it should start installing automatically. That is, you should have node.js installed already. If you don't, then you'll run into a problem. Okay? Thirty-five people. Okay. Others? 15, 14. About 14 if you should finish typing. Do any of you have any questions? Stuck with some place? Just unmute yourself and ask me. This would take like a minute or two more, so we can clear any doubts if you have any. Anybody else stuck? I've installed React.js. Should I need to create the React app? If you have installed React.js, then how can you mean you've installed Node.js and you're asking me if you should create the React app, right? If you have installed Node.js, yeah, then create the React app. Just type in what I've typed here: npx create React app and space the name of your app. Just do that and hit enter. It'll automatically install something. If mine finishes first, I'll just show you the output. The rest of you can leave and then just let it finish running and look at the output yourself, okay? Anton, Jude, Raj. npx next create React app, React tutorial 1. Operation not permitted, create React app, command not found. Do this thing for me. Give me a second. Okay, just type in your terminal, just type the word node space -v. Just type that in. Anton, can you do that for me? -v for, I don't know, vehicle. Yeah, even Swana's method will work. I'm just checking if he has Node first, and then we'll see if you haven't installed Node as a global thingy, then opening CMD as the currently logged in user will not work. Which is why I said install it globally. Okay, perfect. What Crystal darling, what you do is welcome to Node.js type help. Okay, fix. Anton Jude, which folder are you creating the application in? In which directory? C drive. Don't do it in C drive. Your CMD will not allow you to install it in C drive. That's for the operating system. Do it in D drive or something else. Don't do it in the desktop either, or any of the documents, downloads. Don't do it in any of those folders. Do it in a different partition entirely. Even do the same thing. Install it in some other partition other than C. What? A is where your operating system is, right? Don't do it in that. Do it in a different one. You've not the folder. I'm talking about the partition on your file system. If you guys look at this, how do I show it to you? Okay, probably. Nope. What's the scene to? Anton, just look at my screen. Whoever has that issue, if you guys go into this PC, you would see a bunch of partitions, right? If your operating system is on C, don't make the folder in C. Make it in one of the other two drives. Okay? The other two partitions, sorry. Use one of these two. Oops. Okay, then what you do is go into C drive, open any folder, and no, instead what you do is go to search, okay? Just go to Windows search and type CMD, and once you see CMD pop up in the suggestions, right click and run as administrator. Or you can wait. Let's just see. A lot of you have problems. How many of you got it installed? Well, I'll post a message. Don't type in the chat. Wait, hang on. Just react to that message so I'll know how many of you have installed it. Yeah, 1 second. $16 of you are installing it right now. Even if you're still installing it, click on react to my message. I have installed node.js, have the modules npx, npm, etc. Okay, those of you who have problems, you can stay back and we'll get it installed tonight. Those of you who don't can... How many of you have finished installing it completely? Okay, yeah, feedback forms. It depends. You said you'll do a poll, right? We can ask them. Okay, Crystal, just hang on. I'll come back to you when the session is done. Just wait, and those of you who have problems, just wait. 24 people got it installed. Guys, even if it's still installing, even if the CMD thingy is still running, click react to that message so I'll know you've gotten that far. After that, it's straightforward. Okay. 31 installed. How many of you have gotten that far? Okay, different question. How many of you... Okay, Vishnu Simhar. Did you install Node properly? Node.js properly? Vishnu. You clicked on LTS and you got an MSI file that you installed globally, right? Okay. Wait, just hang on. I'll help you out right after the session. Everybody else, 33 reactions. Please react to that message if it is installing currently, or even if you're finished installing, just react to that. Okay, Crystal, if there's a problem, it's on YouTube. There's like a small delay, and the whole thing is on YouTube. Um, if you need to listen to the entire thing again, you can watch it on YouTube again. If it's a small problem, then we can fix it right away. 35 reactions. There's like 15 of you still stuck. Link, please. Jyotsana, can you type the link in to the YouTube? Interrupt like this. Awesome. Abhishek is finished, okay? Abhishek, now what you do is just run the command npm space start. Okay? Run that command. Run it and you should see output in the output in the browser. And you can leave, Abhishek. If you don't have doubts, you can leave. That's like the end of the session. You can come back tomorrow. We'll inform the timings on the group. Yep, guys, if you've gotten an output like Abhishek's, and that means you've installed the React app successfully, okay? If you've gotten that now, you can just type npm space start. Your React app will automatically start. That's it, you can leave after that. If you're still stuck now, you can... I just need to know how many of you got an output like the CMD screen that I'm showing you. If you've gotten this, then installation will definitely finish. So if you've gotten that, you can leave basically, and just wait for it to finish offline. If you're stuck with, installation, or if you have other doubts, then you can stay back. Otherwise, the session is officially over. Okay? But make sure you finish installing this definitely tonight before you come for tomorrow's session, because tomorrow we have to use this. Yep, thanks guys. Yeah. Yep, thank you. Yeah, you're audible.